Okay, guys, can't play too much of that. We don't want it to be too recognizable because YouTube will start to ban it. So just a little bit of it. I wonder if they'll hit me just even for that. So even for that little portion. How are you doing, guys? Hold on, let me just set up here. So, yeah, there's a limit to what you can play there. And it's very hard to play on a tiny little keyboard like that. It's actually not that easy because, you know, the keys are smaller. So if you're playing in a real piano and you go to that, it's like, ooh, it's a lot smaller. How are you doing, my friends? What are you all drinking tonight? Well, I had my adult beverages. So, yeah, no jazz gigs. I haven't had a jazz gig in a long time. So, forgot about what it's like to play music. So, anyway, we're going to talk about the Google phones. So, the way the topic or the way the live stream goes, because some of you, it's like expected, some of you will complain and say it's too long. Yes, this is an hour and a half broadcast, always an hour and a half, but only the first 30 minutes pertains to the topic. The rest is Q&A. So you can stop at the 30-minute mark. So there's no format after 30 minutes. The format ends at 30 minutes. So if you want to complain about being long, there's no reason for you to say that, because you really don't have to stay beyond 30 minutes. So the topic today is about the Google phones. And yeah, this is the BraX phone. BraX phone that's going to be available on March 1. So looks like it's just gonna get here about March 1. So I was hoping it was gonna get here before that, but there's some last minute changes, and we're trying to make sure it's the right changes to make. So that's causing some delays. So hopefully it'll get to me by March 1. So anyway, it's all set to go. So there's the BraX phone. We'll talk about it later, because I don't want somebody saying, "Oh, you're doing an infomercial again." It's like ugh, never ends. Okay. So the question is the Google phones, and what the problem is with understanding what the Google phones do. Somebody asked me today, what's the advantage of a Google phone, since Google's gonna find out who you are anyway, even with a Google phone, versus your Android, normal Google Android, because they will identify your old phone and see that you switched phones, and you're going to be the same person. So therefore, they're going to find you anyway and track you. And no, absolutely incorrect. Absolutely incorrect. So we just want to make sure we're clear on that. First of all, when you have the Google phone, and I'm going to use this one, which is a Pixel. So this is a Pixel. This is a degoogled Pixel 4a. 4a. So that's smaller than that. So this is the smaller phone. So Pixel 4a. Okay, this is last year's model. When you have a Google phone, first of all, you never ever log in to the phone. The phone doesn't have a login. So if you have a standard Google phone, obviously Google knows everything because you logged in. It's called deterministic. They know exactly who you are because you logged into the phone. So there's no hiding who you are. I mean, you could play any game you want with the baseband modem or whatever tricks you want, and delete this, delete that, and I don't know what you're going to do. Oh, get rid of the Play Store, disable this. There's nothing you can do on the Google phone because you fucking logged in. Okay? Now, you're going to say, well, I don't have to log in. Okay, let's start with the thing about you logging in. If you're logged in, you pass the IMEI off the phone, because that's one of the things that Google does. They take the IMEI, the International Mobile Equipment Identifier, which is the unique identifier of this phone. That's a unique serial number of this phone, the IMEI. So they got the IMEI of your phone. Okay, so now you say, I'm not going to log in. Well, you're right. That's not going to do any good, because they can still see the IMEI. Whether you're logged in or not, they can see the IMEI because it's a Google Android. So yes, if you have a Google phone, whether you log in or not, the moment you log in the first time, it doesn't matter if you log in the next time or not, because they got the fucking IMEI. So they have a specific identifier. And unless somebody else logs in with this IMEI, they kind of have a match, and they can say, oh, the guy is like not logging in. I wonder why. Okay, so they got you. They got you. Now, let's say that this is the Google phone. I never log into a Google phone. There is no login. So what do they know about the phone? Well, guess what? On a Google phone, Google does not, or a third-party app, Google included, does not have access to the IMEI. So the IMEI is available only to system apps. There is no system app on a Google phone because there is no Google. Google is the only system app. There is no system app on a Google phone, so they cannot get the IMEI, and Android doesn't let you read the IMEI anyway unless you're a system app. So if you're Yelp, if you're Facebook, you can't read the IMEI on an Android because you're not a system app. Google can read the IMEI, so therefore they gotcha. If you're on a Google phone, no one can read the IMEI because there is no system app. Okay, so now they can't identify precisely who it is. They just know it's a phone. Okay, they can get the model of phone. They can say, oh, it's a Pixel 4, it's a Pixel 4a, it's a Pixel 5. They can get that. On our BraX phone, they can't get anything other than it's an Android phone. It's non-specific. Okay, we don't tell them what the model is. Okay, so I hope you're clear on those two situations. Now let's go further here. When you're on a Google phone, the Google phone is running Wi-Fi scanning that you cannot really have any input on, and that's what is used to get the MAC addresses of Wi-Fi routers near you. That Wi-Fi scanning is done by Google and then sent to Google. And that's 24/7. That's nonstop. It keeps doing that. Kind of same thing that Apple does. Okay? Now, on a Google phone, that code does not exist. Therefore, your phone is not doing 24/7 sending to Google because it doesn't exist on the phone. How do we know it doesn't exist? Because it's open source. Okay, that's a difference. When it's open source, you can see the source code, you can see what it's doing. Google cannot play tricks when it's an open source because that code isn't there. They put the code in when it's Googled, when you're putting in something called Google Apps. Okay, so if you do not have a Google phone, Wi-Fi scanning does not do it the same way. There's Wi-Fi scanning to scan Wi-Fi's, but it doesn't do it the way that Google does it, which is to 24/7 get the MAC addresses of Wi-Fi routers near you, and that obviously will reveal your location and who you are because it's a location tracking, and also because you have your Google ID, which both of that does not exist on a de-Googled phone. Okay, so hopefully that's being cleared up here. Now, on a de-Googled phone, you have the option of running various apps. In fact, some apps can come from Google Play. There is no Google Play on a de-Googled phone. There is no Google Play on a de-Googled phone. So you're saying, well, how can I run Google apps? Well, there are many places you can download apps that are from Google Play Store. One is the Aurora Store, which is pre-installed. We pre-install it, which is a spoofing version of Google Play. And then the other one is you can just go to apkpure.com on the browser and download any app you want from apkpure.com. And every app that is on Google Play is on apkpure.com, including old versions of it. Like you can go to old versions of Waze, for example, which is what we do to get Waze running. We got to use an old version. So if you understand that, then you say, oh, okay, so does Google track you when you're running a Google app? An app that's from the Google Play Store. And in theory, the answer to that is yes. The reason is certain things rely on Google. For one thing, notifications rely on Google. Payments rely on Google. Some apps rely on Firebase applications and databases and other things that are supplied by Google. Most apps do not use Firebase. Firebase is used by a minimal amount of apps. The main use of Firebase is for notifications. Firebase is the Google Cloud Services for mobile. So Firebase is always there Firebase, in fact, does the telemetry. So if you're running a normal Google phone, the telemetry that says what apps are you running, how long are you using it, kind of the same thing that sucking Apple does, tells you how many hours you've been on an app. That is organized and run by the module called Firebase, which is a cloud service provided by Google. Now, there is no Firebase is still running when you're in a Google phone, but the way we do it is we use something called MicroG to spoof Firebase. So what happens if it's a notification? We send it through MicroG with a spoofed identity, and then MicroG sends it to Google Firebase. The notification comes back through MicroG and then rings the notification on your device. So yes, you get notifications, but through MicroG. So if you don't run MicroG, or if you disable MicroG, you don't get notifications. And in which case you have no connection with Firebase whatsoever. If you want to feel safer, that's the other way to do it. Now, some OSs like Graphene do not do Aurora Store or MicroG. They just do plain vanilla F-Droid, and you can't load any other kind of app. So if that's what you want, then you're welcome to run something like a Graphene or something like that. But for normal users that want to run some apps, then you run a spoofed version, and that's why we spoof your identity on Firebase, on Google. So Google will still see your phone, except you're sharing your phone with any number of people using MicroG. So MicroG is it's like a micro Google. It's a Google spoofer, just like the Aurora Store is a Google Play Store spoofer. Aurora Store is actually interfacing with Google Play in the background, but it's creating a fake Gmail identity, and then the fake Gmail identity, it rotates through various identities, and then that downloads the software from Google Play, passes through Aurora Store, which gets into your phone. So there's no direct connection between Google Play and your phone because there's no Google Play loaded on your phone. So that's how you get that. So given that there's an awfully big difference between a Google phone and a non-de-Googled phone, how do you install MicroG? You go to the MicroG site and you download the files. There's 3 of them. You don't have to do it on our Google phones. It's preloaded. Aurora Store is preloaded. F-Droid is preloaded. F-Droid is the safe app store that is only for open source software. So open source software is on F-Droid. Other standard apps are on Aurora Store, which is a spoofer for the Google Play. Now, let's get into. You can ask your BraX Phone questions in the Q&A section. I'm happy to answer that then. Okay, so just re-ask your BraX Phone questions later. Let me just talk about the Google phones specifically. Okay, so the Google phone, in theory, if you just use it in a standard way, does not have any Google apps. It cannot run any kind of Google app with the exception of Waze. It can run Waze with some tricks. We preload Waze. So Waze can run on it. It's the only major Google property that can run. And you can run Google Authenticator. Google Authenticator is open source. It's not really full of Google spying on there. So you can use Google Authenticator, which is the same as Authy, and there's a F-Droid equivalent called Aegis, Aegis. So those are all the same. But you can just use Google Authenticator if you want. That'll run fine, even on a Google phone. Okay, so a Google phone does not have any Google apps. So you can't run Gmail, YouTube, any of that. You got to find, substitutes. So you can't really screw it up. So the question is, people ask me, can you screw up a de-Googled phone? Can you download stuff that can screw it up? The answer is no, because the stuff that you can use to screw it up can't be downloaded. It doesn't run. You also can't run anything that accepts payment because payment requires Google, and there's no way to do payment since there is no Google. So you can't run apps that require payment. You can't run apps that have in-app purchase. You can't run apps that require deeper connection to Google, like Firebase databases. So some apps require that. They're kind of a minority. I would say 90% of apps don't use that, so they're not going to be a problem. Some apps require something called safety net, and that does not run on a Lineage OS phone because Lineage OS does not have signature spoofing. So which apps require safety net? Mostly banking apps, some banking apps, not, as I've already tested. Wells Fargo works, Chase works, Bank of America doesn't. Okay, so that kind of gives you a clue here that it's pretty hard to screw up a Google phone. You really can't really do much with it. If it, 90% of the apps work. The 10% of the apps that are going to cause you trouble will not work anyway, so there's no problem. Okay, so for the most part, the experience with a Google phone is not really all that unusual, except for some apps that you cannot run. Okay, so no paid apps. That sucks. It does suck to me. I mean, you make a choice. You make a choice. You want to get spied on? Sure. Download your apps that you pay for. You don't want to get spied on? Use some alternative. So, okay. So, GPS works on a Google phone. There's no problem. I'm in fact, one of my favorite GPS kind of apps is Navionics. It's my boating GPS app. Works great. No problem. So GPS works on the phone. So raw GPS works. There's a open source street maps called Osmand, which is preloaded. That also works fine. So for the most part, most things work. Some reliance on Google Maps doesn't work. Sometimes they can work with a substitute, but oftentimes they don't work. Like let's say you run a Tesla app. The Tesla app runs pretty much normally, except if you're trying to get service and it's trying to pinpoint a location with a map, the map doesn't work. So that's like basically it's 98% working. So just the maps portion, which really deals with just service side. Other than that, there's no real issue. So you can use Waze. Like I said, Waze runs on a phone. So, if you want to use Waze, you can use Waze. I prefer not to use Waze, but some people are so demanding of Waze. So you can use Waze, but do not ever log into Waze. Do not log into Waze. I have too many questions. What are your other questions there? Okay, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to make other videos of this, but I'm going to tell you right now, at the moment, there is not much of an alternative with phones. If you want to get some safety, if you don't want to be censored and spied on, and Lord knows what Apple and Google are doing, if you want to avoid all that, then the only option at the moment is to get a open source Android phone. And that's what I refer to as a Google phone, is an open source Android phone. Not the standard Android, which is not open source, but the open source Android phone, which I call Googled. Okay, so I'm going to make videos about that. There are other open source operating systems that run phones, but they do not run them very well yet. And the other open source operating systems for phones include many Linux variants. Many of them. But in general, they're all problematic at the moment. There's still issues. So they're kind of like basic phones. Many things do not work. And obviously there's a very big limitation on apps. But if you just want basic functionality, some of that can be usable if they just solve the battery management issue. A Google phone is very good with power saving, a de-Googled phone pretty much runs typically double the time that it would run if it were Googled. So for example, my phones here run typically for 2 days before I need to recharge them. So they're on a 2-day cycle. A Google phone needs to be charged every day. Okay? So just to make that clear. So yes, so the only safe operating system to use on a phone are the open source operating systems, which is Android open source project. There are many variants of that. You've heard of so many of those variants, Lineage OS, and many, many more. And they're all okay as long as you stick to the open source version and do not put in the Google stuff, which adds the spyware. So if you can stick to the open source version, you will be fine. Okay, hopefully that gives you a little bit of knowledge there. One final point that is not clear. Okay, what happens if you have your de-Googled phone here, and then I use the browser and I log into Google? I made so many videos of that because my phone was being spied on by Google from the browser, which is in fact true. It was doing that. So every time I turned on the phone, it was in fact sending information to Google. But Google actually does not have that much information about the phone, even though they were spying on my phone. They're spying on not this phone, but my prior phone before this, which was a Google Pixel 4. So now that phone doesn't exist anymore. But they couldn't even tell what that phone was, because all that they had was that they would track the user agent, which says it's a Pixel 4. So they knew that it's a Pixel 4. And they knew the IP address. Beyond that, they didn't really know much of anything else. They didn't know what kind of phone it was, what operating system was running, because I was only accessing through the browser. There's no app. So they did not know if it's the Google or not, because I'm only using the browser and I'm using DuckDuckGo. So you can't really reveal too much information on the browser other than the user agent. So they don't even have the IMEI. So in other words, to them, this is a Pixel 4a. If I went to DuckDuckGo and went to Gmail on this, they would say, oh, you're in a 4a and this is your IP address. If I change to a different Pixel 4a, or maybe this is not you, but it's a friend of mine that comes with a Google 4a, a Pixel 4a, in my same house, and went to Gmail, they would think it's the same phone. They don't actually know specifically because they can't read the serial number. That's the difference. Yes, they can spy on me to a point, but they can't get to the point of actually getting an identity because they cannot get the actual serial number. So the only way they can get identity is from the fact that I'm logged in, because I logged into Gmail, and then the IP address. So is that much different than using a computer, logging into Gmail and getting the IP address? Probably not. So if you use a VPN, then, they don't have much information beyond that. So, so is it a problem? Yes, because if you do not clear the cookies, Google, if you logged in on Gmail on your phone, or YouTube or whatever on your phone, using the browser, it will continuously ping Google with what I believe is a web worker, which is a background task in JavaScript. And it will work forever and ever to send data about your phone. So if you ever use Gmail or anything like that on your phone, all you have to do is just clear the cookies. And then that stops it. I tried that and it stopped. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lord W. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. By the way, those who contribute to my broadcast with what do you call it when somebody super chats? See, I forgot what it's called now. Super chats. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Anything you do to support my channel, the Patreon and all this, is so appreciated when you buy products. It supports this channel, and some of you don't think I deserve to be able to support this channel with income, but it's because I got income is the way that I'm able to keep continuing these broadcasts. Otherwise, if I don't have a way of making an income, then of course I got to do something else. So I'm happy to say that I don't have to program. I don't have to go be an executive of some tech company. It's not necessary because I'm doing well doing YouTube. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's the 30-minute breakdown of the Google phone, just a quickie, and then we'll go into the Q&A section. But before we do that, let me just tell you about my sponsor, which is Linode. If you want to do a Linux server of various kinds, in fact, I was watching a video of somebody doing a hack. Some big channel with 1.9 million subscribers, and they were doing a hack using Beef. Beef is a software you can run in Linux, and then you can go theoretically hack somebody. And I looked at it and I was like, so that's pretty basic. That's not what and he was saying, oh, don't do this. You're gonna go to jail if you run Beef. To me, that's a baby hack. That's not what I consider a real hack. Yeah, you can do phishing with that. Not too sophisticated, but you can run that kind of stuff. You want to experiment, you want to learn about cybersecurity, you can run those servers, you can make it on Linode. So Linode is great for that. You can make servers of various kinds. You can experiment with making a Nextcloud server, Jitsi server. In fact, you just go to, it's called Marketplace. You go to Linode, you just select WordPress. You just select, and they already pre-install it for you. So you don't even have to learn. If you want to learn how to run Linux servers, all you do is go to Linode and test it, and for $5 a month, $5 a month, and you get $100 credit if you sign up with linode.com/RobBraxman. You already get $100 that you can use for 2 months. So basically, you can learn for 2 months for $5 a month per server. You can learn pretty much for free. So if you want to learn how to run Linux things, that's a great option, and it's one of the best ISPs around. It's really my recommended ISP. Okay. Let me look at your comments here. And hello, Mike L. How are you doing, my friend? Is that the same Mike L? I guess there could be other Mike L's, but I only know about the Mike L. So this is the BraX phone, which is not yet updated with the new icons, but it's already done. But this is an original one, so it doesn't have that. This is not what you're going to get. The new one has colored icons. And this is going to be hopefully shippable by March 1. Assuming no shipping delays, we're going to have it ready by March 1. And then I'm getting frequent shipments of this, so I'm not expecting to run out. So if you're thinking that you might run out, I don't think we're going to run out. So I think I can get enough quantities of this that we're not going to run out. So, if we do run out, it'll be like a week delay, and then we can get stock within a week. So we're basically going to be doing a lot of shipments of this. So on a frequent basis, so we should not run out. And if we run out, it'll be for short periods of time. So I can answer some of the questions. And this is the one I keep screwing up on, and that's the power supply, because some people were saying, well, that doesn't work for the UK. I guess I just didn't use the proper combination. So let me just show you the options. So I believe that is the EU setup. I believe well, I don't just believe, I know this is the US setup. So that is the US configuration. I believe this is Australia, I think. I had to check the notes because I actually don't know what is used in each of these countries, but I think that's Australia. I think. Okay, the one I got keeps screwing up on. Then which one is this? There's I don't think this exists. Not sure what country that would be, but it can do that. So not sure what country that is. It can accept 210 or 240 or 120. So it's automatic. Okay, let's see. See if we can do another version here. So I looked at the notes and said this is UK. I know that the UK one is a flat bar, but I believe that should work too. So if it doesn't work, goodness, you can buy a USB power supply for $5. So I'm just showing you that it does come with something, and if it doesn't work, then you can get one for $5. So I think it works for most countries. So if it doesn't work for you, if what I'm showing you is false, because the people from the UK were saying this doesn't work, but I don't know. I've actually not showed it like this. So if this doesn't work for the UK, then you can get your own USB, because it's just standard USB-C. I'm sure you can go to the market, find one for $5. Okay, so, or £5 in your case. So Australia, I was told. Again, what do I know? I was told this is Australia. Okay, so if I'm wrong, like I said, whatever combination, you can see how all of these, the prongs do change, and you can have different prongs. And if it doesn't work, then I'm sure you can find one of these for $5. But this one's kind of nice and handy because it supports so many countries. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, I got a Pine phone, but it's again same issues with it. It's great for testing. The Pine phone works great for testing, but it's not really a good daily driver because the power is like 8 hours. You can't use a phone for 8 hours. It got to last at least 24. The Google phones last 2 days. So that's a pretty big difference. Okay, now questions on BraxOS, which is on this phone, and I keep getting asked this question, so it's kind of tiring to keep answering it, because here's the thing: somebody wants to speak badly of me in some other channel, because if somebody has a smaller channel and they want to attack me because they want to sound like they're better, they're gonna attack me and say, oh, his phone is unsafe because X, Y, and Z. So I have a Librem 5 that does not run. It ran for, I don't know, the first time. It never ran again, and it is not my Librem 5. Somebody gave it to me. So I have a Librem 5, but it's not. A Nick Pal, using graphene for one, my main posted is most secure and private. That's that's debatable. I'm a privacy channel, so this is not a cybersecurity channel. If you are telling me that there's some cybersecurity benefits to graphene, maybe. But based on the use that I'm putting these phones to, I don't need that kind of private, that kind of security. My concern is more privacy. From the privacy side, no, I do not need that. Lineage OS is fine for most of my phones. This phone, which is a Pixel, is running Lineage OS. Okay, so here's a question that people say. Oh, you're promoting non-secure devices because your BraxOS is not signed. Okay, fake news, guys. BraxOS is definitely signed. BraxOS is signed. BraxOS has OTA updates coordinated by Brax Mobile, meaning me. So we actually trigger the updates from we have our own servers to update these phones. Okay, yes, they are absolutely signed. Okay, so, and it's based on AOSP. BraxOS is not based on Lineage OS. It's based directly from AOSP. We will publish the source code after it's cleaned up, but it's not yet cleaned up. But when the time comes, it will be published. But it's basically just AOSP. It is signed. Somebody asked, is it rooted? No, the phones are not rooted. They are signed. They're not rooted. Could you root the phone? Yes, you can root the phone. You can OEM unlock it if you want. But it is shipped to you with Bootloader Locked. It is Bootloader Locked when it is shipped to you. You then have the choice, if you want, to go to developer mode and OEM unlock. We don't stop you from doing that. But it's kind of pointless. You cannot load any other OS on here. You cannot load standard Android because it doesn't have the drivers for this. Okay, so we don't really expect anybody to modify this. So BraxOS is controlled by us, by my company. We preload the software on it. If you hit reset on it, it will go back to what it was like when we shipped it to you, which includes F-Droid or Store MicroG and our standard set of apps. So you can reset it all you want. It doesn't get affected. That is different from Lineage OS. This one is Lineage OS. If you reset this, you lose all the apps. Because you reset it, you go back to standard Lineage OS. It doesn't have the apps, doesn't have F-Droid, it doesn't have any of that. That is not the same with BraxOS. So BraxOS is much more controlled because we have more control over it since it's our OS. Okay, it actually boots. When you boot it, it actually, well, let me boot it for you while I'm talking here. When you boot it, it actually displays. So here, from let's boot it from there. That's booting from the beginning. Okay, it's actually, we changed this. It says BraxOS now. Okay, so that's from a boot. Okay, so if you want to root it, do whatever you want. That's up to you. I mean, I would not recommend rooting normally because you expose yourself to hackers. So the bootloader is locked as shipped to you. Why lock the bootloader? Do you want to keep people under your control? The bootloader is locked so that an outsider can't install software without your permission. Lon Jinx, please listen. You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention, Lon Jinx or John Links or whatever it is your name is. Okay, you're not paying attention. It is shipped bootloader locked. All you have to do is go to developer mode and OEM unlock it, and then it's bootloader unlocked. Okay? You can unlock it if you want. Now, what is the purpose of unlocking it? To root it. Do I recommend rooting? No. Can you do it? Yes. You are not stopped from doing that. It's just a standard Android. There's no restrictions here. Okay? So yes, you can unlock the bootloader, but I don't want somebody from, the other groups that are hounding me saying that I'm like selling you non-secure devices because it's not bootloader locked, or what's the other which is nonsense. Who cares if it's bootloader locked or not? And the other one is that I don't sign the OS. Another piece of nonsense. Okay, if I sell you Lineage OS, which is this on a Pixel, if I sell you a Pixel, it will have Lineage OS. Lineage OS is signed. Obviously, it is signed. It is signed by Lineage OS. It gets the updates from Lineage OS. It doesn't get updates from me. I have nothing to do with Lineage OS. Okay, Lineage OS is open source and it's public, and I don't have anything to do with that. So when you get this phone, all I do is install it for you. I take a used phone, which is a used Pixel, I install it for you. Somebody said, well, you're going to put spyware on there. Well, I mean, okay, who cares? Okay, it's getting Lineage OS from a third party, not from me. Okay, I get it from the third party. And when you get your OTA updates, you're getting it from Lineage OS. You're not getting it from me. That is not the same as BraxOS. BraxOS does get the updates from me. Okay, and this is signed by BraxOS, not signed by Lineage OS. So we have more control over this. Here we're just installing it for you. Here we're more responsible on BraxOS because we actually control this. So we can, on an OTA update, for example, change the default apps. One of the things that I can do in a future update, OTA, is I can preload the VPN profiles on here so you don't have to go download them. I can do that too. That's something that we're not going to do with the first round. Maybe, second or third batch of phones we're going to be able to do that, but not in the first round. But you'll get it later. I mean, when somebody gets an OTA update, everyone gets an OTA update. It's the same. Does Dropbox run on it? It probably will. I can't imagine why Dropbox will not work. Of course, so React. That's really amazing, that somebody who doesn't even know what the phone is telling you to not buy my phone because he's a zucking expert. Amazing. I'm not going to be wasting my time with some of these people because who are they? Who are they? I see some of these channels talking about privacy. They don't even know what they're talking about. They even get confused. Are you talking cybersecurity or privacy? Do you even understand what you're talking about? They don't even understand the zucking problem with privacy. 90% of these people who say they're in privacy, they don't understand what the problem is. And they're actually saying, we're cybersecurity people. Then do you understand the difference between cybersecurity and privacy? Not really. Okay, so if you want to get confused, you go listen to people who don't know much and think they know, who have a fraction of my level of experience, a fraction. If you want to listen to them, you're welcome. It's a free country. I'm not going to go name names, but I mean, it's ludicrous, some of these statements. Okay, so yeah, I cannot think of anyone saying anything negative about BraxOS on this, because this is pretty robust, and we are making changes too as we go. So we're kind of at the baby stages of this. There's going to be more changes added, and we have control over the OS, so there's more we can do. So I expect that as time goes by, the OTA updates will even have more features. Okay, so it doesn't really matter to me what somebody else says. If you don't even look, my channel is the largest privacy channel on YouTube. In fact, I think I'm the largest privacy channel in all of social media. As small as my channel is, I'm the largest one in all of social media. So yeah, so uh, so anybody can take what I say here and say, "Oh, I'm better," or whatever. Well, tell them to prove it. Okay, show them the knowledge by content. I see some of these channels that give you, privacy discussion, and they're like just so superficial. And the difference with my channels, I dig in deep and tell you deep down how it works. And some of you are saying it's too techy. Yeah, but I got to do that because you need to get the foundation that what I'm talking about is based on deep information, not some cursory statements. Even even a channel, the biggest channel before I passed that channel, the one. I don't have anything negative to say about the one. You know what I'm talking about. But that channel is also very general. It makes statements about, stating a problem without really any detail. You just have to assume that what the guy says is true. I try not to do that. I try to give you some more background information by giving you a lot of detail. And so I tend to talk more. My videos are also longer because I got to explain it to you more. Just like I did with the Apple stuff. Thank you, Anik Pal. Using Windows for 9 years and no one said, except you in an old video, that use second profile instead of admin profile for 6 years. Yes, of course, Anik Pal. This is something I know from experience. Somebody made a comment on an old video. Says, "Oh, here's the privacy guy using Windows. Ha ha ha." It's like, stupid Zuck. I use Windows, I use Mac, I use iOS, I use Android, I use AOSP, and I use Linux. I use everything. That's how do you think I do this? You think I'm going to hide and say, I'm not going to go try a Mac. I'm so afraid. I'm not going to go try it. So how do I talk about it without telling you if I don't try it? So of course I try it. I've already explained to you why I use Windows, and you can configure Windows to be safer, which I've already explained in so many videos. But if you're asking me what my daily driver is, my daily driver is Linux. I'm currently using Pop! OS as my daily driver. That's what I do every day. But I do my videos. So once a week, I have to go back to my Windows computer and use my computer, my MSI, which is running NVIDIA. And for that, I'm using Windows. Patriot Act. Oh, gosh. Let's wait and see. That Patriot Act is come and gone. It's not really getting any traction. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. But, it's like the Patriot Act. Yeah, Lindsey Graham and, yeah, all of them. It left or right, Dianne Feinstein. Oh, it doesn't matter if you're left or right, they just want to spy on you. They're all the same. So you can forget about, getting your party affiliations correct, because they all want to spy on you. Except on one side, if they want to spy on you, if you stop them from spying on you, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, democracy! We're losing our democracy." Yeah, they're all the same. All the same. You can use Wi-Fi calling. Makes no difference. They can spy on you in Wi-Fi calling. Yes, whether or not you do it. You should talk about how printers leave stenography marks on papers to identify user. Well, that's a thing that the three-letter agencies do. So if you print something from a three-letter agency, they're going to put a mark. That way, that's how they find out the Snowden types. That's how they stop that. Identify. That's how they've been spying on people who've been printing out stuff and sending it to newspapers by putting in signatures on the printouts. Is your AOSP code able to de-Google any standard Android phone when it's released? No. James Mason, no. AOSP has to be configured for a phone with that specific hardware. So no, you cannot take some AOSP unless you configure it for the phone. Just like Lineage OS, the standard Lineage OS doesn't work. You gotta like tweak it for your hardware. So there's various configurations you got to do in Android to specify the hardware in your phone. So they're not interchangeable. So you can't take Lineage OS from for a Pixel 4 and install it on Pixel 4a. It'll brick your phone. So no, it can't do that. So no, you can't take my BraxOS and install on any other phone. I can't load it on any other phone. It will just be on the BraxOS phone with that hardware. Okay, what's your opinion on ClearPhone? I don't have any opinion on ClearPhone. To me, a ClearPhone is just centralization of your internet. That's what I gather from that. They just centralize your traffic, just like a VPN, except everything you do goes through their server, where they can then filter the content. So I don't know. I don't know if I like that. No, I'm not going to go recommend ClearPhone to you. I need to use WhatsApp. Well, you can use, if you want to use an emulator, yeah, you can use an emulator. That'll be a way. Do you link the credit card purchase to the de-Google phone's IMEI to make a purchase? No, I do not actually record IMEIs. No, I don't have a record of IMEIs. So I do not. I mean, not only that, I mean, people change phones all the time. Say, oh, replace this phone. No, I actually do not track IMEIs. I have no idea if an IMEI came from me or not. I have no idea. I can't leave iOS no matter how hard I try. Well, that's your choice. But I'll try to convince you more in my next video. My next video is, you want to give me, I think this will be the title. Apple quacks like a duck. I think that's my next video. Apple quacks like a duck. That's my tentative title right now. Do you think smartphones should be illegal? Well, it's a free country, so you can't make anything illegal. That is not meant to do killing or anything. So no, you can't stop a smartphone, but what big tech does should be illegal. But here we are. They're not going to do that. Okay, come with a phone like Punk Phone. I don't need to come up with a phone like Punk Phone. I have BraX Phone. I can't believe people are talking about my BraX Phone and telling you in other channels not to buy it. That's actually pretty good news. It means that they're talking about it. Yes, BraX Phone. This is not a Freedom Phone. Some overpriced junk from Freedom Phone. This is not that. This is a nice quality phone, signed, with OTA updates, with security features built in, which we are building off on. We're actually expanding that, but it's already off to a good start. And it has a very high resolution camera. The camera is 48 megapixels in raw power. It doesn't save 48 megapixel images, but the quality of the camera is 48 megapixels on the back, 25 megapixels on the front. So it's a very high resolution camera. The camera is actually pretty amazing. And it comes with software to run the camera called Open Camera. So the software to run the cameras is a lot more sophisticated than the one that comes with Lineage OS. So just everything about it is much more fitted to the phone than the Lineage OS ones. Now, if you're on Verizon, you have no choice but to use the Pixel products that I have running Lineage OS. If you're on Verizon, then you need to stay with a Pixel. Pixels are great phones, which is what I use right now. I'm gonna switch to this, or I'm probably gonna use both when the time comes. But I can't use it yet because it's not final. The OS is not final yet. But it does have a lot of settings that you can control that you do not have on the Lineage OS. So this is a lot more refined. Okay, so the BraX2 phone SIM card, it comes with a dual SIM. I wonder if I have. Okay, I don't have a pin here. Okay, so the BraX phone comes with dual SIM. So obviously no Pixel comes with dual SIM. So for dual SIM options, the only option is a BraX phone. Now, the way it works is you can actually say, okay, here, let me turn it on and show you. You can actually specify what you want each SIM to do. For example, you can specify if the SIM slot, well, I guess I can't show it to you because the phone number is on here. Though it doesn't matter, I'm going to change the phone number anyway. But somebody said I showed this phone number, but it doesn't matter because I don't keep the phone number on these. These are my throwaway phone numbers. So what happens is it can specify here. I'm going to just show you what it says. Well, I don't know if you can see that. There's SIM slot 1, SIM slot 2, and then you say preferred SIM for mobile data, preferred SIM for calls, preferred SIM for SMS messages. So you can actually control a little bit of that, like which one wants to go where. Now, if you do not want to use a dual SIM, you can put in a SD card, micro SD card. I don't know what the max SD card is, but I presume you can put a fairly large micro SD card on here. So the phone comes with 128 gigabytes of storage, and then you can enhance that with the SD card, so you can have some amount of storage. Again, I don't know what the limit is on the SD card because I don't have anything larger than 128, but 128 definitely will work on the SD card if you want to do that. So yeah, well, I want to get your the Google phone of. Thank you, Shirley. Okay, so okay, so what else? What else do you want to know? It does not. It just comes with USB-C. There's no headphone jack, so you can do an adapter. You can put a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter adapter. I thought I had one here, but I guess I moved it. But so you can put an adapter for 3.5 millimeter. The camera, look at the position of the camera, which is here, which is actually the same as the Pixels. So the Pixels have that same setup now, where the camera is in the corner. Okay, now the back camera, you can see there are 3 cameras in the back. Whereas on the Pixel, I see 2 cameras. So this one has 3. And that's for, telephoto and wide angle. So the quality is very good. I'm looking at the photos and they appear to be saving in 6K resolution. although the camera is able to take a higher resolution than that, so it seems to be downscaling it from above 8K, and then it's downsizing it to 6K. Are you certain carriers better for privacy than others? If so, which carrier do you prefer? That's what all carriers by law have to spy on you. It's part of the what is it? The Communications Law Enforcement Act, CALEA law. So they all spy on you. They're not going to be any different. Some spy on you less. If you're dealing with an MVNO, they tend to not require things like social security numbers and all that. You go to a T-Mobile or AT&T, they ask you for your credit, and they then ask you for your social security number and other ID. The MVNOs tend to not ask for that. So, that's up to you. I don't think you can hide identity with a carrier, but what the carrier can spy on is mostly related to phone calls and texting. So the less you do texting and phone calls, then the less they can be of interest to you. Because, like, for example, even with family, I use Signal. And I do recommend Signal for family. I don't necessarily recommend Signal for non-family, but for family, Signal is great. So you can do phone calls, texting, and video all on Signal. And you do that, you're actually outside of the realm of the of the carrier. So then they can't spy on you anyway. Pine 64 is, I have Pine 64 phones, and I made many videos about that. The problem isn't the Pine 64 phone itself, but all the OSs haven't really resolved. Basically Linux people have not done a great job of keeping up and spending the time to solve some of the problems that exist on the Pine 64 phone or even the Librem 5. So for that reason, they're not yet ready for prime time. So they're not, like I said, 8 hours max of use. So are you using your phone Pi-hole with Unbound? No, Pi-hole is, no, my VPN uses Pi-hole. Warranty is 1 year for the BraX phone. So it's a brand new phone. So it gets 1 year warranty like any normal phone. Okay? So that's one thing you don't have to worry about anything because it comes with a warranty. It's, it's there's not much risk on the BraX phone. When you do a de-Google phone, I have to use used phones for these. So, and Pixels are even more expensive. The BraX phone is only $379. So this is actually the cheapest phone, and it's new. Versus a Pixel that I sell, and these range in price from, most of these are from $400 to $800. So these are a lot more expensive, the Pixels, because they are expensive phones. Unlimited data. What does that have to do with anything? Can we get parts for BraX phones? Yes. Yeah, but you don't need to do that for the first year. It's on warranty. Yeah, so if you need to do things like replace, let's say you drop the phone, you want to replace the screen. Yes, we can supply those. I do not sell cell service. No. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. Why would you want to waste your time on TikTok? Exactly. Can Pine phone run Android apps? Normally, no, unless you can load Android on Pine phone. Not well. The Pixel. See, I've been, for several years now. I've been using Pixels, and I've been using uh, Lineage OS on them, and they're absolutely great. They're they're fantastic. The BraX phone gives me a little bit more control though. So this is a cheaper phone, and so what's the difference between a Pixel and a BraX phone? Well, some of the Pixel models are waterproof, so that's an advantage. Some of them have wireless charging. The BraX phone does not. And that's and then the Pixel phones, the new Pixel phones like Pixel 4 and above, have faster processors. Is that noticeable? No, I can't tell. I can't tell. I mean, for normal use that I put it to, I can't tell the difference. You can watch movies and all that. It's pretty normal. You bought two 800 pixels from me. Thank you, Apple Dumpling. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Did you buy Pixel 5s? So the $800 phones are the Pixel 5s. BraX phone is not secure. You know that. Like some of these not. So there's so many trolls in here. Like you know. So why don't you buy one? Why don't you buy one? Then you tell me exactly why you think that. So some of these people, think I'm an idiot. Like I would sell you something that's not secure because, I'm so stupid. I don't know anything about phones. So can I upgrade the RAM? No, but you can upgrade the storage by adding an SD card. Do I need to answer that resonance waves? Go to other channels to promote that. As far as I'm concerned, they're all good. I don't really, I don't make any statements about, which AOSP is better or not, because for privacy reasons, they just have to do the privacy job. And as long as there's no Google apps on there, they're all good, all of them. The only restriction is that it's got to be no gaps, no Google apps. If they're designed to have no Google apps, meaning you never install Google apps over it, then it's fine. I don't really care what you use. If you don't want to use mine, use yours. It doesn't make any difference to me. They're all good. So the basic statement is open source operating systems are all good. Open source operating systems, they are good. You can promote whatever you want. You can say, oh, I like this one that starts with a G. Oh, I want this one that starts with a C. Oh, I want this one that starts with an L. I want this one that starts with an H. I want this one. Multiple ones that start with a C. It's. I don't really care. They're all good. If you choose something else, I'm not going to stop you. I'm going to say they're good. They're all good. Okay? They're all good because they solve the privacy problem. They cannot be tracked by Google. Now, some people make other claims about their products by saying they're cyber secure, and all that. Now, that's questionable. Some are, some are not. That's questionable. It's sad that customers don't even have a choice anymore. You either get Apple, Samsung, or Pixel. You want the one that starts with a Z? Okay. You can do that. Apple cares about you so much. It doesn't matter if you keep the same number. Yeah, you can keep the same phone number on your phone. You can transfer your SIM card onto the phone. That is not really a threat you need to worry about. The reason is The reason is the Google phone, the apps, unless it's Google, if it's not Google, apps cannot read the IMSI or the IMEI, so they cannot have access to it. So it doesn't matter if you put your own SIM card on there from an existing phone. It does not matter. Now, your carrier can spy on you regardless of the phone anyway. It doesn't matter what the model is. Can they spy on the Google phone? Yes, because it's clear law. So they already built in the spyware into the baseband modem. That's what SimJacker and all these Pegasus and all these different things are. They're all attacks on the baseband modem. That is a different threat because only government can hack you there. Do you have a price for the BraX Phone 2 yet? Yes, it's $379 plus shipping. $379 plus shipping. Okay, so again, you're getting a brand new phone, and it's going to be available on March 1. Hopefully. If it's not available on March 1, I will take pre-orders by March 1, and then we can I mean, I'm assuming that, if there's a delay, it'll be like a couple days. But I certainly will take pre-orders by March 1. And do you recommend unlocked phones? Yes, you should always get unlocked phones. You should always get unlocked phones. You should never get a carrier phone. I would really advise you never to buy a phone from a carrier because they lock it and then they put their own software on there. You don't want that. Can you de-Google MotoG Pure? No. No, not at the moment. When is BraX router available again? When I can get Raspberry Pi. So BraX router software is always available, but there's no. Let me just explain that a little bit. There is a supply chain. You know about the supply chain problem with chips with cars. So you can't buy a car, right? All used cars are much more expensive now. I should sell my car, probably get more money for it, because of the price of cars now have increased. Well, transfer that to the Raspberry Pi. There are no Raspberry Pis. If you look at Amazon, you cannot buy Raspberry Pi anywhere in the world. So there is no stock of Raspberry Pis anywhere. I've been on a backlog. I ordered my supply in October for shipment in November, and it's already February, almost March, and we still don't have one. And I already paid for it. So I can't even get a shipment. So if I get a shipment, it'll be a tiny one. I don't know how long it'll take to be able to get massive numbers of Pi. So when they become available, it's probably best to just buy yourself a Raspberry Pi from the store and just buy the software from me, because this is going to be a problem. It's going to be quite a delay here. You want your money back? Sure. 10 minutes behind. Is Telegram okay to use in secret chat mode? I don't like Telegram because it has your phone number. So same limitations as Signal. You can use it. Just be careful, because, the phone number business. With treble A, almost any Google can be de-Googled? No, unfortunately, it's not that simple. Yeah, I mean, supposedly with treble you can do it, but, if you actually try it, you're going to have compatibility problems and you're going to have to tweak it. So in theory, but in reality, that's not been my experience. And then you have the problem of locked bootloaders. So, for example, the Chinese phones with the locked bootloaders, what do you do with that? Or even somebody like OnePlus. OnePlus used to always have open bootloaders. Always all OEM unlocked, and then they sold it for carriers, and they said, oh, here's a Verizon version, we're going to lock the bootloader. Sucking Verizon. It's like my most hated ISP. If there's any carrier. If there's any carrier I do not recommend you go with, it's Verizon, because they're such a pain. where did you get the Pi? The Pi is you can get Pis from Amazon when they're available, but the guy that sells from Amazon is my supplier. So if you can't find it on Amazon, so there's only like there's like suppliers of Pis for like North America, and that's my supplier, and you can't find them selling it on Amazon either. So yeah, I'm a high volume buyer, so I buy lots of stuff from them, but I can't buy anything now. So will they be ready by March? I am hoping, but I'm losing a lot of sales because I can't sell any routers. Do you ever feel like, is it okay to Google on a de-Google phone? There is no Google. You cannot install Google on a de-Google phone. So what do you mean? So since there's no Google on a de-Google phone, I don't know how you're going to do that. But yes, you can use the browser. Have you tried 69? What about... is Play Store on the Pixel 5 from you? Is Play Store on the Pixel 5 from... This Weggy Deggy guy is a troll. Can somebody just eliminate him? Yeah, you can go to the Google site and go do it on the browser. So yes, you can, but you have to clear cookies or they will spy on you if you log in. Verizon enhanced your data over to anyone with a badge. No warrant needed. Well, that's true of all of them, Charles. So not. It's hard to. I told you, Kalia law. They have to. They don't have a choice. I don't want my next phone to be from Google. Well, you know what? Yes, Google actually, these phones are HTC, the Pixels. They're made by HTC. Yes, HTC is owned by Google now. But they do a good job of making it OEM unlockable, and you can load other OSs on it. Why they do that? I don't know. Maybe for ease of tech support. But as long as they do it, then we can use them. And they're actually the best one for degoogling is Pixel, which is really funny. But Pixel is the easiest one to degoogle because Google didn't put any restrictions on them. If you buy one from a carrier, they put restrictions on them. So Google does not put any restrictions on the phones that the carriers do. And I think what it does is because Google doesn't put restrictions on the phone, it increases the resale value of the Google Pixel. So it's actually maybe they do it for profit reasons. Yeah, you can use YouTube Advanced. So I already blocked. Good info, are you buying a phone from a carrier? I did not know that. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so anyway, so yeah, of course, everyone will tell you not to buy these BraX phones because they're really good. So my team that works on programming this is actually in Europe. Okay, and they watch my live streams too to see what your comments are on the phone. So they'll see what you're saying about the phone and they'll take that into consideration and say, maybe we need to change something because somebody said something. Okay, so I have a great team that's actually working on the OS side, and I'm very confident that they're gonna do a good job. They actually have been involved with another private phone before. So BraxOS is not the first private phone they've handled. Okay, there was a pause there. Maybe it didn't like what I said. Okay, so it looks like the signal dropped. Maybe it didn't like what I said. So then I won't say it again. Verizon Motor phones are bootloader locked, and you can't get the code. Don't get carrier locked. Don't get carrier phones. Just a good tip. Just in general, you're gonna be screwed. Isaac, is it difficult to add GPS wireless hard switch to your phone? On the Google phone, you don't have to worry about that because there's no entity that takes it. The open source does not distribute your GPS information. It's controlled by the OS. It doesn't go anywhere. On the Google phone, you don't worry about stuff like that because the open source doesn't allow it to be distributed. It's part of standard Android. It only gets distributed when you have Google. Okay, so you don't really have to worry about that. If you want to see, well, how does it handle GPS and Wi-Fi triangulation, all that, you can go check the open source at android.org, and then you can see how they do it. So it's not a mystery how it's done. It's safe. It's the same methodology understood by anyone that makes any kind of AOSP phone. So it's an open source phone, which is fantastic. It's pretty nice, it's pretty snappy, but yet carrier band support issue made me do a refund for a customer. The phones won't matter if we get hit with EMP soon. What kind of Raspberry Pi to get? Pretty much Raspberry Pi 4B of any size will work with Brax router. Any. I've been selling it with 2 gigabytes because that's the one that was most available. But you can get 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte, 8 gigabytes. They all work. 8 gigabytes overkill and much more expensive. You may be able to buy 8 gigabyte now. That's because they're not very common. Otherwise, I'd probably the best price in the past has been with 2 gigabytes. That's what I've been buying is 2 gigabytes because from a pricing point of view, actually the 1 gigabyte and 2 gigabytes have the same price. Okay, so Wartime Studios. Well, I don't write to the SD card anyway, so it's not going to fail from using it as a Brax router because we don't write to the card. Okay, so I'm running out of time here. So where can we buy your phone? So my phone will be on BraxMe. So if you want to get set up for that, join BraxMe. So you can go to the website brax.me. You can download the app BraxMe from Google Play or from iOS, or you can just go directly to the site. Or if you don't want to download from the store, you can actually go to the website BraxMe, and there's a link to download the APK directly without going to a store. And that version does not have notifications, so that doesn't do anything with Firebase. So if you want to be extra secure, you can do that too. Or you can just use the website, use the browser, https://brax.me. Now, when you go into BraxMe, you have to log in. Do not be afraid to log in because it doesn't ask you for anything. To log into BraxMe, it just needs a username and your password. It doesn't require anything else. So don't be afraid to log in. There's nothing, I won't ask you of anything else. Okay? You just put in your own desired username that nobody has. Got to be unique. And then you put in your own password. Don't forget it. Write it down somewhere. And you're all set. The store is on the menu. Okay? So the store is on the menu. So please please understand that people say, well, I can't, I'm not going to go to a store where I have to log in. There's nothing required of you. The reason for logging into BraxMe is social media. So it's not just a store, it's social media. There are people there interested in privacy. It's a big privacy social media site. So go there, interact with the people, ask questions, and the store is on the menu. Okay? So that'll be there. And you can buy products there now, VPNs, the Google phones, and then on March 1, I will start selling you